Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I want to just have everyone stand up real quick and just kind of stretch out a little bit. We've got a lot of information. Give your neighbor a high five. Kind of move the physiology a little bit. Take a nice deep breath. Move around a little bit. All right, let's take a seat. So, real quick, guys, I'm going to keep my presentation to the point, very easy to understand. I'm a very engaging person, so I love to engage with people. Real quick, could I just get a couple of shares of maybe 2 or 3 takeaways that we've gotten today? 2 or 3 takeaways. There's been a lot of things that we've learned today, from refinancing, the market, everything. Airbnb. Yeah, that Air DNA was a nugget. I'm definitely going to be incorporating that as well. Maybe 1 or 2 more, yeah.
Make sure you're doing your research in regards to permitting and licensing for Airbnb.
Yeah, research is huge. Research is huge, for sure. Maybe 1 more?
Build an ADU.
Build an ADU. I actually got to talk to you guys because I'm actually in the process of I'm turning my single family residence into a 4-plex.
There you go.
Right? A couple different ways. I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, the reason I believe in protection, I'm going to get into the specifics and stuff like that, but I'm going to share a story along the way. A story that, was dear to me and is the reason why I do what I do, is to educate and elevate families. Is to educate and elevate Latinos, first generation specifically. My mom was from Cuba. My dad was from Mexico City. He came here at the age of 23. And when he came here at the age of 23, right before he passed away in 2009, he built up a major Mexican fast food chain known as Tacos Mexico. Some of you guys may or may not have heard of it. Now, for me and my family personally, I have immigrant parents, right? I'm first generation here, born in the States. Our parents did their job of getting us here, my family, getting us here to the U.S., the land of opportunity. Right? But a lot of times we go and we build, and we don't think about generations after generations. Does that make sense? So when my dad unfortunately passed away in 2009, there was no protection set in place. There was no living trust set in place. And we lost a lot of things, not only family and emotions, but obviously a lot of his creation of wealth. Nearly 80 to 90% of his estate was gone. I went through a 6.5-year probate case with my siblings, and I kid you not, it's been 14 years yesterday since my dad has passed. Till this day, I have my siblings. I could literally show you threads yesterday on his anniversary where there's still a lot of friction even after years of the probate case being closed. So what I'm here to tell you guys today is going to be coming from the heart. Okay? It's going to be coming not because it's what I do, but it's because of what I embody and what I believe in. Does that make sense? So what I want you guys to do is I just want you guys to close your eyes for a second. I want you guys to take a very deep breath. Think about your favorite memories with your families. Maybe some of you guys have kids. Some of you guys have, aunts, uncles, moms, dads. And imagine just going 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years of building, sacrifice. And something happens in a matter of an instant. And everything that your parents or that you have built for is absolutely gone. Because we didn't sit with somebody to educate us on how to build and protect our generational wealth that we can now pass on. Okay? The reason why I had you guys close your eyes, you can open them up now, is because I do not want this happening to you guys. Okay? So some of the points that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be simple financial planning nuggets, right? And I always like to open up with this quote by Cornelius, I can never say his first name, Cornelius Vanderbilt, one of the wealthiest men that quote unquote built America. He said, "Any fool can make a fortune. It takes a man of brains to hold on to it." So when I think about that, I think about my dad, right? He built a lot throughout his legacy. Unfortunately, we were not educated as Latinos to learn how to pass that on. Does that make sense? So some of the things that we're going to be talking about are economic facts, things that are going on right now and how it applies to you, right? I always like to keep things in bullet points. 3 stages of money growth, 3 investment strategies, 3 ways your money gets taxed, and 3 ways to protect your legacy, and then the difference between a trust and a will. I'm going to get into it right away, okay? What's going on right now in the United States, right? 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every single day, turning 65 for the next 8 to 10 years. Baby boomers are my parents, right? Individuals born between the years of 1946 and 1964. Social Security has already announced that they're essentially running out of money by the year of 2034, right? The U.S. healthcare system, right, is getting out of control, especially coming out of COVID. In-home nurses, guys, it takes a lot of money to have an in-home nurse, and these are things that we need to think about because it could affect our wealth building. And then the biggest one is the U.S. debt just passed $32 trillion, okay? Not $1 billion, $1 trillion. $32 trillion right now that we are in debt. So what I want you guys to imagine is some of us may have 401ks, pension plans, whatever the case may be. One of the only ways that the IRS can now take that money back and repay this massive bill is by raising taxes in the future. Do we think that taxes are going to go up a little bit or a lot in the future? A lot. One of the biggest threads that we were talking about today, right, was taxation. How do I avoid taxes? How do I save on taxes? How can I use my real estate property, my real estate investments to use it as a write-off on my taxes, right? We're going to talk about those things. We're in the largest wealth transfer in U.S. history. $71 trillion being passed down from the baby boomer generation down to the next, okay? So over the next 10 years, there's massive money being passed down. Equity in real estate, 401k money, stocks, etc. Okay? How are we going to pass that money on? Because it doesn't just go from one generation to the next. If there's no plan in place, there's something called probate. You don't want to go through that. I've been through that. Does that make sense, you guys? And then a big fact, by a raise of hands, who in here has known somebody that has had cancer? Okay? 39.5% of Americans at some time in their life will have cancer. I'm going to shake you guys up. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I promise you there's gold at the end. Okay? So how do we protect against these things? I'll skip through a lot of this stuff. Where are a lot of Americans saving their money? Some of you guys have savings accounts, 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans, IRAs, SEP IRAs, real estate, a lot of different sectors in real estate. Roth IRAs, right? There's a difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. They grow the same, but they're taxed differently. And then TFRAs, right? The reason why I show you this is because we want diversification. Today we're teaching how to build generational wealth through real estate, yeah? But there's multiple ways. We're not going to put all of our eggs into one basket, right? Some of us have 401ks. Some of us have pension plans. Some of us have cryptocurrency. Some of us has commercial, residential, multifamily, right? Different asset classes. Some people invest into life insurance as an investment strategy, right? There's a lot of different ways. So if you guys want, I would take a picture of that because that's a big one when you're trying to find different ways to diversify your portfolio. So now we start investing. We start investing our money, and it doesn't matter where you're investing your money, okay? You start investing your money, and there's 3 stages to your money growth. There's when you go ahead and put the down payment on the real estate, or you're getting your money taken out of your paycheck to go into your 401k, right? Your contribution stage. Then you have your accumulation stage. This is usually the biggest stage of your money growth. It's when everything starts to compound, right? And then it's the distribution stage. Unfortunately, what we're taught is how to contribute and how it will grow. But how are we going to get paid? Inside of your folders, there's a blue TFA one piece. If you guys could take this out for me real quick. And if you guys want to turn on the back of this, okay? You'll see a lot of information, but what I want you guys to focus on is there's 3 enemies that work against you when you're trying to build wealth. And I want somebody to repeat after me. Number 1, say inflation. Let's try that again. Let's do inflation. Taxation. And procrastination. There's 3 things that work against you. If you're going to take anything away from this, is that there's 3 things that work against you when you're trying to build wealth. Inflation, we've gone over that, right? It's not the worst thing in the world, but let's get in the game, right? We can't win a game from playing on the sidelines. We got to get in, right? Taxation. You get taxed on everything nowadays. You go to the grocery store, they tax it. You make more money, they tax it. You unfortunately pass away and meet your maker early, they tax it. So how do we play this game, right, of building and protecting our wealth? Well, we have to be educated. Congratulations to you guys for being the ones that are here on a Saturday, sacrificing, getting educated. Because you guys are going to be the ones that stand out against the rest. So give yourselves a round of applause. And then the distribution, right? The distribution's huge. How are we going to get this money, right? Take a picture of this, please. Okay, there's 3 different ways that your money grows. Doesn't matter what it is. You could put your money in a fixed account. Some people use a CD, some people use a savings account. You get the point. I have a graph here that shows an example of a fixed account. The second way is a variable type of account. Okay, this could be cryptocurrency, this could be real estate, this could be an IRA, a 401k. You get the point. And then you have an index strategy that every time the market goes up, your account goes up, your investment goes up. If the market were to take a dump today and we go into a recession or something happens, our 401k could lose money. And the question that I like to ask people when we're protecting our assets is, are you prepared to lose 20 or 30% of your portfolio overnight? How would that make you guys feel? Very uncomfortable, right? I told you guys, it's going to be very uncomfortable, but I'm going to bring light to it, okay? Stick with me. How is our money taxed? So if we take that one piece back out, right, it reflects with a lot of these things. What I want you guys to imagine is that you're a farmer, okay? You're a farmer. You're investing into a farm, and you have a bunch of seeds, okay? You're throwing the seeds out. Would you guys want to pay taxes on the penny seeds today, or knowing the facts that we already got into, pay the taxes later? Pay the taxes now, right? There's different ways that we could invest where we could now get taxed on our money now. Savings, checking, CDs, mutual funds. I put cryptocurrency and real estate with an asterisk, money market accounts, because there's strategies that we could use there, right? I'm not going to get into those strategies today. Tax later accounts, 401ks, TSPs, traditional IRAs, right? Real estate could get taxed later if we do a 1031 exchange, right? We could kick the can down the road. But what I want you guys to understand is that with these types of accounts, specifically 401ks and traditional IRAs, is that there's 2 rules, okay? There's a 59.5 rule, which basically means that the IRS says, hey, Pablo, you can't touch this money now. You have to wait until you're 59.5. Now understand what we already talked about. What's the biggest thing going on right now in the U.S. economy? Inflation, the debt. So how are we going to get this money back? Imagine making all this money. Listen, guys, I only have the opportunity one time to sit with a client. So I have to get like this with them. I have to shake you guys up. Because the last thing that I would want is you guys to build for 15, 20, 30 years and nobody taught you this, okay? We have one chance and one opportunity. Eminem said it best, right? Then you have the 73 rule, right? The 73 rule is known as your RMD. Someone say required minimum distribution. RMD, right? It's a lot easier to say. What the RMD is that now by the age of 73, which is very funny, right around the time people start getting Alzheimer's, if you forget to take your RMD out, you are now taxed up to 50% of your RMD. Okay? Not to mention, there's different rules and different, things that are involved with that, but with the 59.5 rule, if you touch it before 59.5, right, you're penalized 10% on top of whatever state and income or state and federal taxes are at the time, okay? And then we have the chance to never pay taxes on our money, right? Or tax exempt types of accounts, Roth IRAs, municipal bonds, cash value life policies, real estate if you get strategic, right? 529 college plans. This is just understanding how our money gets taxed. Any questions so far? Awesome. So one of the things that I do is I help and I educate people. I'm in the business of teaching people how to leverage and use life insurance as a way to protect their assets, okay? So I have 3 examples up here. The first example is a term policy, right? A term policy for a 40-year-old male, typically, good health, for $500,000. This is also known as income protection and mortgage protection. This is not the protection or the mortgage insurance on your loan. This is different, okay? There's another little blue pamphlet inside of your guys' folders. So when you're buying a home or you have Airbnbs and you have all these properties, what's the typical cash flow on a property?
Minimum 2,000.
Oh, a month.
Minimum 2,000.
2,000 a month? Okay, 2,000 a month. What about on a short term or a regular rental?
Yeah, about 300 to 500.
300 to 500 bucks. Okay. We should be having our tenants pay for our life insurance. This is what I do currently. I have 3 rental properties. For each one of my loans on my properties, I have a little term policy. Now, this is a big nugget I want you guys to understand. If you have a mortgage, you should have some type of life insurance. Now, I'm not talking about the old type of life insurance where you got to die to use it. I'm talking about the life insurance with full living benefits. Full living benefits, okay? Open up this pamphlet where it says living benefits. Okay, I'll go through this very, very quickly because there's the old type of life insurance and then there's the new type of life insurance. The old type of life insurance is you got to die to use it. The new type of life insurance, if you have a heart attack, stroke, cancer, can't use the restroom, can't transfer yourself, you lose the ability to go to work. Some of us are realtors. I'm going to shake you guys up a little bit, okay? What happens if we lose the ability to go show a home? How is our income going to get protected? This is real life. I just had a friend, very well known in the real estate space. He's had 2 heart attacks, okay? 2 heart attacks in the last 2 years. He's a broker. He has a lot of agents. Unfortunately, no life insurance. Didn't pass, but his income is affected. If something happens to us, how are we going to protect our mortgage? For a lot of us, this is the biggest investment that we make is our real estate, yes? So there's new life insurance policies, which I do annual reviews for free. If you have life insurance already, I could teach you and show you if you already have full living benefits in it, right? There's a terminal illness, right? Does it have a terminal illness benefit? Which basically means that you've been certified by a doctor that unfortunately you have 24 months or less to pass, okay? A chronic illness, if you lose the ability to bathe yourself, you lose continence, dressing, eating, using the restroom, or transferring yourself. If you lose 2 out of those 6, what are called daily living activities, you qualify for these living benefits. What do these living benefits look like? A terminal illness, day 1 you get your policy, the insurance company will send you about $430,000 to pay off your mortgage or pay off anything that you need to pay off. Because the last thing that you're going to be worried about is going to work and making money if you have a terminal or chronic illness. Does that make sense? That's the last thing. Critical illness, coma, severe burns, heart attack, stroke, cancer, anything like that happens to you, don't worry about getting better. Or I'm sorry, don't worry about making money, worry about getting better. Does that make sense, you guys? So the question that I want to drop in is, does your mortgage protection, does your life insurance policy, whether it be a term policy or a permanent policy, does it have full living benefits? This is the biggest thing. Right? This is the biggest thing that you want to make sure because we work extremely hard for what we have, yes? We go to work, we sacrifice for our family, we're spending time away from our family, and the last thing that I would want you guys to do is something happens out of your control and we're not properly protected. Now, a lot of people may say, well, Pablo, I have a bunch of money in my 401k or my savings. Guys, would you rather juice your savings or would you rather pay $100 a month for a small little term policy. A term policy that's for 30 years. Most loans are how long? See where I'm going with it? What are two other ways that you could use permanent life insurance? These are my personal policies, by the way. I don't just talk about it, I embody what I do. This is something that we talk about in the roundtable, is embody what you are, not only outside, but in business as well. This is why I'm in full support of the third floor, Francisco, and everything that they're doing up here. And embodiment, right? Instead of investing my money into a 401k, because I'm a business owner, right? I don't have the ability to have a 401k. I put my money into a TFRA. A TFRA is a tax-free retirement account. Tax-free retirement account. Because when you're putting money into that 401k, you put money, and then you got to get taxed on a big amount. You guys said earlier you would rather get taxed now, not later, right? This is you're putting already tax dollars into this. So this continues to compound and compound and compound. What is this compound? This compounds the S&P 500, the Standard & Poor's 500, which are the top 500 companies, right, and arguably the number one economy in the world, right? So that's why I like to say you're going to get somewhere between a 6 to 8% rate of return on your money, okay? Where do I get that data? Over the last 30 years, the S&P has done 6 to 8. Over the last 20 years, it's done 8 to 10%. No, it's not going to get you the return of a rental property, right? Or it may not get you the return of an Airbnb. But we're here to teach diversification. Another thing that this has is the living benefits, and another thing that this has is something called the death benefit, so that we could pass on tax-free dollars to our heirs. Here's a third way that I use life insurance, with a concept called infinite banking. Okay? When I go buy my real estate, I don't take money from my savings as my down payment. When I go get my ADU, I don't go get money from traditional financing. I put money inside of my life insurance, and 30 days later, I rip it back out. When I rip that money back out, the money that's inside of my life insurance is still compounding as if I never took it out. And now I took that 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, and I opened up an ADU. I picked up another piece of real estate. This is what the wealthy understand is a concept called infinite banking. It's leveraged by a life insurance contract. There's different ways, there's different types of life insurance. There's term and there's permanent. Term is like renting your home. It's like renting your insurance. Permanent is like owning the piece of real estate. Does that make sense, you guys? So I wanted to keep it super, super simple, talk about living benefits and all that good stuff. Any other questions that I have?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You know how they have, it's called a rider, I could be wrong, like if we're younger, can you get living life insurance for your children?
Great question. Really, really good question. So the Rockefellers, they were one of the most wealthiest families in the world. I'm sure you guys have heard of them, all right? What the Rockefellers, that's a great question. You teed up my next slide. What the Rockefellers would do is that as soon as the child in their family was 15 days old, they would open up a life insurance policy. The beneficiary of that life insurance policy would not be a beneficiary, would not be mom, dad, or anybody in the family. The beneficiary of the life insurance would be the trust. So that every time somebody passed away in the family bank or the trust, the family trust, would inherit the death benefit. You do this generation after generation after generation. You get the point, right? So now what the Rockefellers do, and I get goosebumps by thinking about it, right? Because in my family, I'm going to be the one to set that and start that. I've already started that for my family. So when my kids are born, boom, they're getting a life insurance policy. Why would I get a life insurance policy on a 15-day-old infant?
That's an eerie feeling, but...
That's an eerie feeling. I'm not doing it for the death benefit. I'm doing it to build generational wealth. The younger and healthier you are, the cheaper the cost of the insurance. Permanent insurance works like an egg. You have the egg yolk and you got the egg white. The egg yolk is the cost of the insurance, the fees. The egg white is the investment. So would you want your egg yolk to be big or would you want it to be small? You don't want to pay fees, right? So get it while you're younger and healthier. Landing, is everything that I'm saying kind of landing? I know I came in a little aggressive, but I got to do it to shake us up a little bit. Does that make sense? So essentially what the Rockefellers would do is that they would do this generation after generation. And they would put everything in the family trust. Now, little Pablo becomes 24 years old and he wants to buy his first apartment complex. He doesn't have to go to a traditional bank. He goes to the family trust, and the family trust are his tios and his tias. And he says, Tio, tia, I have a business proposition. I found this really, really good deal. My tios and tias, they vet it because they're financially literate, and they say, you know what? Let's buy it. They now take the money out of the living trust, and they buy more real estate. Wash, rinse, and repeat after generation, after generation, after generation. Does that make sense? Now getting into the living trust, because this is more asset protection, okay? There's a difference between a trust and a will. When my dad passed, I opened up with my dad passing away. He had nearly 100 restaurants, 97 to be exact. And he had no living trust, he had no life insurance. Because he did not have a living trust or a will, we entered probate. Now there's a big difference between a trust and a will, okay? A living trust avoids probate. It has privacy. It has asset protection for your beneficiaries. It provides distributions, right? You could put a schedule on how your beneficiary, you're not going to give an 18-year-old $250,000, $3 million, whatever your estate may be valued at. It also has a pour-over will. Here's the biggest thing that we have to think about. I get a question, Pablo, do I need a living trust? I ask him a couple questions. Do you have children? Do you own a business? Right? Yes, you need a living trust. Why? Because if something happens to you, who's going to make and you end up in the hospital, who's going to make the medical calls for you? Who's going to essentially pull the plug when you're incapacitated? If you do not have an advanced healthcare directive, right, which is inside of your living trust, you're toast. Who's going to pay the bills? Who has access to your bank accounts, to your investments if you're in the hospital? This is real life stuff. Okay? This all comes inside of the living trust. A will, great, but it's not all the protection you need. It's kind of like la sábana. We say that in Spanish. It's like the sheet. It's not the actual blanket. Does that make sense? It still requires probate. It has no privacy, so it's basically like an invitation to everybody in court knowing everything that you had. There's a lot of fees upon death, okay? And there's really no asset protection, okay? Typically, a living trust could cost anywhere between, I've seen $3,000 to $5,000 by an attorney. I am not a licensed attorney, but I work heavily with a lot of attorneys, okay? We get our living trust at a wholesale price, so if you're interested in that, let us know. We could get them done for married couples, about $1,800, somebody single, about $1,500 to $1,700, okay? Any questions on anything that I went over? I know that was a lot. I try to keep it high energy and straight to the point. Any questions for me?
We have a lot to do. We have a lot to
We
check
need
out.
appointments.
Yes.
Listen,
3 appointments right here.
there's a lot when it comes to insurance, retirement, stuff like that. One of the things I want to share is the S&P 500. Nobody here could tell you what the future is going to do, okay? No financial planner, no guru. Nobody knows what the future is going to do, okay? This is the Standard & Poor's 500. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever really goes up, COVID, stimulus money. Boom, we're on our way back up. This is what a lot of economic people say. It's what's called a dead cat bounce. Market will come back up, it'll come down, it'll go up, and then it'll really crash down. If you have money in a variable type of account, a 401k, a pension plan, traditional IRA, stocks, bonds, etc., you have the opportunity to roll money over and protect it from any type of losses and roll it into an indexed account where you are now 100% protected against losses. What the wealthy understand is how to position themselves. We have the opportunity to position ourselves financially, building and investing into real estate, protecting our assets long term, and like I like to say, is protecting you and your family's legacy. That's why I'm so aligned with everything that Legacy is doing here, with what Francisco is doing, and being a true embodiment of what it is that we're trying to teach everybody. Does that make sense? Any other questions?
What was it called? Living life insurance?
A living trust.
No.
Living trust, living
What is it?
benefits.
What is
There's two
it?
types of insurance. There's the one that you rent, the one that you own. What is
There's a term and then there's a permanent.
I like term.
And then you got living benefit. If you have questions, I'm going to stick around. I'll stick around. You guys I'm not a fees for service type of advisor. I don't sit down I don't charge you guys to review your stuff or anything like that. I'm directly contracted by the insurance companies. They take care of me. So you guys sit, it's like sitting with Francisco. He doesn't charge to sit down, I don't think, right? So we're here, right? We're here to help you guys. Does that make sense? All right, guys, thanks so much.